All right, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. Again, I appreciate you guys that always follow and subscribe and watch my bullshit and deal with my bullshit. So I do thank you for that. All right, guys. So tonight, as a lot of you can see, this is Prepping by Faith. I know a lot of you guys know who she is. She has a awesome channel, by the way. She's been on a lot of live streams. She's been on other people's live streams. So again, this is a channel that I've been watching for a while, and normally I don't make comments at all actually, but I watch people for a long time before I bring them on. In some cases, I bring them on a little too fast, and then you guys seen how that turned out. But nonetheless, pretty much everybody I've brought on recently has been spot on and or fun to talk to. So anyway, ma'am, do me a favor, introduce yourself to everyone here.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I greatly appreciate it. So I'm Prepping by Faith. I live in Colorado. I started my channel the end of January, really to just encourage people in every area of their preparedness, from spiritual to mental to physical. And I feel like there are a lot of preppers in the community that are Christians, but not so many who try to share faith-based content and preparedness. So I kind of felt like there was a need to do that. So it's not always small teaching moments. Sometimes there are just a few scriptures that I share with you intertwined in a video, just kind of what the Word of God says about a topic. I do go over basic food preservation, prepping topics, some news items, usually things that I feel may have been overlooked in the community. And I've also started hosting live streams probably about 3 months ago now on most Friday evenings. And that's where I like to have these live panel discussions on prevalent topics. So the last one that I just did this past Friday, we talked about the death of the dollar, and I had Prepper Now on, Prepper Dog, and Prepping with Sarge. So that was a really good conversation.
Yeah, I missed that one, by the way, so I definitely will take a watch. So listen, I find it interesting that I guess faith-based channels, if you will, or faith-based prepping channels, however
Mm-hmm.
you look at it. It's amazing that you guys catch shit for what you do. It's listen, I've always said to each their own with a lot of things, especially religion.
Right.
I mean, if there was a Muslim channel or a Jewish prepping channel, if there's such a thing, it is what it is. But I always find, and I see it all the time, especially with Christians. And Christians, listen, I think Christians been getting a bad rap for a long time, and it's been building for a long time. And I'm not like, again, you guys know I'm not a religious dude, but I still notice a lot of bullshit in the Catholic community, if you will, and the bullshit being that you guys are often getting browbeaten for again your faith. But with that being said, how do you tackle that kind of an issue and still stay on?
I think a lot of that just comes down to really knowing who you are as far as, your faith, what you believe in, being strong in your views, and really not allowing that stuff to affect you at the core of who you are. Understanding that there are people out there that think differently than you, and they're going to come at you for different things, and then just kind of trying to put on blinders essentially and ignore those kinds of things. There are situations where you do have to kind of stand up for yourself and, push back a little bit. And, some of you already know that whole thing, but I'm not going to get into that because I don't believe in, talking about that stuff. It's, to me, that is stuff that should stay in the background. It isn't stuff that I want to bring to the forefront of, YouTube, because I feel like it gives the community a bad reputation, and it's not something that I really want to dwell on. So I think just maintaining strength in who you are, and understanding that this kind of stuff happens, and it's going to happen, and the Bible even told us it was going to happen.
So I do find that interesting. And you know what I found even more interesting is that, of course, I'm interviewing you tonight, and I'm sitting at home, and I'm like, watching on TV. I think it was on. I forgot what it was on. I'd be lying if I told you what channel I knew it was on. But they were talking about how the Christian, I guess, religion or community
Mhm.
is breaking apart because of political strife now, right? So you got a lot of political views, and you got certain elements, or rather sects of Christianity that are like, we want to be politically based as well because politically we're being attacked. And so I get that thinking. But then you have others that are like, yeah, we're not supposed to get involved with this kind of stuff. This is not our forte. This is not our thing. It will work itself out kind of thinking. Not that that's how they wholeheartedly think, but that kind of thinking. Um, and Cat Girl 60, I'm not in Antarctica. Where's Iceland in Antarctica? No. Anyway, she keeps bringing it up, and yes, and whatever. But that being said, I again, I don't want this to, we don't want to turn this into a whole, political debate, or even a religious debate, but and it's not a debate because I'm actually agreeing with everything that you're saying.
Right.
But how do you guys, again, in the prepper community, how about, let me put it like this: being at your religious base,
Mhm.
are there any things that will cut somebody out of your community? Right, like me, I'll invite everybody until they cross that line. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. But
Right.
you, right, where's that line for you as far as like a prepper community goes? How many people would you invite in? Who won't you take in? Things of that nature.
Right. I mean, I feel like as far as everybody knows, anybody who knows my channel knows that it's very open to everybody. I'm not one of those kind of people that's going to browbeat you over the head with my faith. I'm going to share different things that I've learned that I feel like have helped me. And really, that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to encourage other people in their walk with the Lord, or encourage them if they don't know anything about the Lord and what the Word of God says. And really, it's just to uplift and motivate people. And it's not to, not include people. That has never been the goal of my channel. The goal of my channel is actually to try to bridge the prepping community and the Christian community, because I think it's so important that we really work together.
No, and it definitely is. And again, I like your thinking. Again, guys, you're hearing it from yourself. You're hearing what she has to say. She's not one of the finger waggers, I like to call them, right? Those that are like, oh, you're not living my lifestyle, fuck you, kind of deal. She's not one of those. And that being said, this is another reason why you would subscribe to her channel. And listen, again, I'm not a religious person, but I still follow like Bear Independent herself, and many other, I guess, religious preppers. And I take their message, and when they get to the religious part, either I'll listen to it or I'll turn it off. That's the two choices you have. And 90% of the times I wind up leaving it on. Uh, and again, that's not just to listen to it, to give it views, and again, to hear what they have to say. Again, guys, a lot of preppers we all have different views, we have different angles, and that should be the bridge for all of us. The fact that we are all different in our ways. And listen, we have asshole preppers out there, right? And you guys know a couple of those channels. We have, super religious channels that, frown upon channels like mine, right? And then we have open arm channels, if you will, like Prepping by Faith, that other people frown upon her. So it's you're not going to get liked by everyone, basically. But in the prepper community, I think this is the one community where we should push as much as that we can to the side. So let's get to the meat of it. Why? Sorry, did you start prepping, and how long ago did you start prepping?
I kind of always grew up of the prepared mind. So that's just something that I kind of grew up with, because my mom was actually one of 12 children that, she dealt with a lot of food insecurity and stuff growing up. And then my grandmother on my dad's side actually lived through the Great Depression. So I grew up seeing the keeping several months of food on hand was just the norm. And a lot of my aunts did the same thing, my mom's sisters. And then my dad was in the Navy for 20 years. So we moved around quite a bit. And so we had, we lived overseas, and we had to do the whole bottled water because the water isn't safe over there. And then you always had to be prepared, for things like power outages with, we were in Guam. So you have the whole typhoons over there. And then up in Maine, you had like big winter ice storms and blizzards. So having, light sources, extra blankets, all that sort of stuff was just the norm. And then we actually decided to build a home with my parents in 2015. And I'm so glad that we did that now, because that has been a huge help for us as far as, having more of our money freed up with all of these rising food costs and utility prices and things like that. So pooling our resources was a really great idea. And then we invested in freeze dried food in about 2016. And then come January of 2020, that's when I really felt the need to up our prepping game. And that's when we got a lot more serious about putting up more than just several months of food. And that's around the time that I discovered all of the prepping channels. So yours was one of the first ones that I found, along with Alaska Prepper and Prepper Nurse One. And so in many ways, I feel like I'm still learning a lot as I go along, but I tell everyone that I'm not an expert in anything, and we are just learning and growing together.
Well, that's very good. And you know what's funny? A lot of and I hate saying this because it sounds, I don't know, I guess pretentious, but a lot of the smaller or younger YouTube channels, rather, you guys still bring shit to the table. Now, when I first started prepping, not in a million years, man, would I ever thought of starting a channel. I think I had to, actually, I had just started prepping. I might have been prepping for 2 years, and then I started a channel. So maybe that was fairly young, but I don't know. You guys, again, a lot of you younger channels, you guys are fucking like nailing it on the head, so to speak. With how you're sharing your information and what you're sharing, and a lot of it doesn't sound like copycat information, which is very important. I know a lot of people, right? They watch another YouTube channel and then they turn around and they like parrot what they just heard. And like I said, a lot of channels are not doing that. What's the channel? Prepping with Sarge, or by with Sarge, right? Is that his name?
Prepping with Sarge.
Prepping with Sarge. Yeah, I just discovered his channel the other day. I've been watching a couple of his videos. I'm like,
he's a great
channel. Yeah. It's like, it's not bad.
Cold War Prepper is another really good one.
Who?
Cold War Prepper Lee.
Right, that's another guy I just discovered because of you guys.
Yes. He's a really good friend of mine. Vancity, which you've already had her on. She's a good friend. Who else am I thinking of? Apartment Prepper. And I don't know if you've heard of Sassy Gal Prepping, but she's another channel that
I have.
close to as well.
I follow her somewhere, not on YouTube, maybe on Instagram, but I follow her.
Probably, yeah.
Right. So I mean, yeah, and a lot of these channels are, and you know what? Again, channels like yours, you could tell that you guys are not in it for the money, but there are certain channels you can see they're clearly in it for the money. Now, that's a dangerous road I'm about to go down. But,
oh my gosh, I would not recommend. If you guys are trying to do this for the money, don't do it. I'm gonna tell you right now, I've been doing this for 7 months now. I still haven't gotten one paycheck yet from YouTube. So don't do it if you want to make a bunch of money, because you may as well just go get a second job.
That is, and exactly, because it's funny, like people who are doing it like, just for the money, you can tell. You can tell their attitude, the shit they talk about. And and people will bring up Canadian Prepper, but Canadian Prepper was doing it I would say long before you can get paid. He was doing it for a while, and again, myself, I started getting paid when the shit got bad, when the pandemic started. What was that? 2019 into 2020. That's when I started. And before then, I was on a bunch of years and didn't know I can get paid. Now, the money is a nice bonus, but that's what it is. It's a bonus. It's not like, you don't look at it like, this is my job, I'm gonna get paid doing this. It's a nice little bonus. And that's all it is. But if you're looking to make money and to grow yourself into I guess to grow yourself into a business isn't bad, as long as you're talking about the right things. But yeah, again, guys, I know, but again, Canadian Prepper, he's been on this shit for a long time as well. Him and I have been on about the same amount of time. City Prepping. Who's the other guy? The nerd with the glasses. Urban Prepper. Yes, he's been on for a long ass time. A lot of us were on this shit before you can get paid. And so, it clearly wasn't about money. It's about getting the message across.
Exactly.
But with that, as far as prepping goes, we see your background. Was there a fight to take that room over?
to take it over? No, not really, because nobody really used this room all that often anyway. So it's just a study. So originally we did have a treadmill that was kind of sitting over here. And, as you know, treadmills are just one of those things that people buy a lot of times and you never end up using it. So it was just sitting there collecting dust. And we had need to, find extra space in our home for preps. And I got the brilliant idea, let's go ahead and throw this thing out in the yard sale and get a bunch of shelving units in here and put more preps. So that's what we did.
Nice. I mean, you know what? I didn't have too much of a fight. I showed my wife the book 1 second after she read it. She was like, "Oh, we got to start prepping." So that was a good like segue into taking over a closet and jamming the apartment full of shit that whatever. It's going to eventually get me kicked out.
My
Now,
husband's very much on board with
oh,
all of the stuff that we do, so I don't have to worry about that. And then my dad, I don't know so much about him, but my mom definitely, she's gung-ho about it all too. So she's got her own thing going downstairs, and she's the one who's doing a lot of the pressure canning and the dehydrating and stuff. So I kind of shadow her a little bit on my channel as well and those things, because she has taught herself quite a bit in regards to that. And I forget how many jars of food she has pressure canned, but I want to say it's well over like 300 at this point that she has put up. So she is really into this too.
very good. So now I have to talking about the subject tonight. What is your view on the drought situation that we are seeing currently around the world?
I feel like it is really starting to escalate because it's not just impacting us here in the United States. We have that mega drought going on in California. And then I've heard that it's impacting at least 40% of our country over the last 101 weeks. But it's also impacting China. They've got issues going on over there with the Yangtze River. I'm hearing stuff about India. I've also heard that Europe is being impacted. They are having one of their worst droughts of the last 500 years. And then we're hearing all this talk about food issues already in Somalia. So they're talking about famine potentially there. So
Yes, and it again, it sucks that it does suck. I was going to say that. I mean, at this point, the shit it's going to take a while to hit the fan, if you will, because it's moving. I mean, like listen, growing up, we all thought the apocalypse or the shit hitting the fan was going to happen like pretty fast. This is so slow moving. I'm like ready to fucking get out and push. It's happening so slow, but it's also scary to watch because we're watching other countries, like you said, Somalia, who's going to go through it, and they're going to have a really hard time. I mean, listen, droughts are so bad. They're seeing in Serbia, sorry, they saw a World War II German battleship resurface because the water levels got so low. They are also having river traffic is being affected as well, so they can't transport people, if I'm not mistaken, and items to a lot of the river because they're hitting what they would call like sandbars. And as we just spoke about, Somalia will be hit with a famine. They said very soon. Another article I read, they said by the end of the year, they're going to see something costly. Their cattle is dying and they can't grow food because the famine is so bad. So what would be your recommendation for a drought or how to prepare for a drought?
Well, I think first and foremost, people need to be concerned about water. If you can figure out ways of storing that water, having the purification and the filtration back for it, knowing where a local source is that's nearby. One of the things that we did is we did a lot of research in our area as far as groundwater and how deep down our groundwater is. And we found out that it's only about 12 and a half feet down. So we bought a DIY well kit, and that's something that we purchased. That's something that you guys can look into. I would recommend checking into that. It obviously depends on how deep down your groundwater is, but this thing, as long as you're within 25 feet, and they do have extensions that you can purchase where you can go as deep as 50 feet. So that's something that I would encourage people to do as well. And then just, maybe even start now rationing water, timing your showers, making sure you don't fill the tub all the way. Rain barrels, I think, are really another great idea as far as putting up, especially if you live in an area of the country where you get regular rain. I would encourage you to have those. And even if you live in an area where they don't want you collecting the rain, if you at least have that barrel put up or a couple of them put up, then if SHTF hits, no one's going to be watching you at that point, and you've got those ready to go.
Very good. I mean, yeah. Listen, as far as city life goes, it rains fairly enough here, so collecting water won't be a problem for us. Especially the amount of water we already have. If we can stay ahead of it, we'll be fine. So I'm going to try to do a video on how to collect rainwater. Like, not the video that I showed people what it looked like, but actually how to collect it. As soon as I get that fucking wasp hive off my
that thing is massive.
It got bigger when we came back. We thought they were going to handle it, but of course they didn't. No. So tomorrow, I'm going to obviously get dressed in layer clothing, duct tape the shit out of myself, and go and handle it. But as the wife is like, "But what if they all start flying out?" I'm like, the wasp spray should kill them all on contact as they come out, so it wouldn't be too much of a problem. She's like, "What if you fall off the fire escape?" I'm like, "You got to be a complete idiot to fall off." But I will harness myself into the fire escape before I do so. So but she's nervous that I might fall off. I'm like, I said, I used to fucking live off of, not live, but that was my job. Yes. That was part of my job, but it's a couple people here like film it and live stream it. I'm definitely going to film it. That's for sure. So it should be a nice comedy sketch if I don't fall off.
Are you going to have somebody else hold the camera for you while you're trying to take care of this thing?
Yeah, the kids, they're going to do it from the window. They'll do it from behind. Right, they'll do it from the window. They'll be safe, and this should be entertaining to watch. So yeah, after I get it done, the wife is like, "I don't want you to do it," because she has an issue. She thinks that they're all going to start flying crazy and haphazardly and shit. And I'm like, I said, "Listen, it'll be okay." I said, "At worst, I get a couple stings. It's not gonna kill me." Right. So also with the food, with the drought going on, that there is there's food issues behind this, right? They're growing food. What is your outlook on the whole food problem or issues that we will be seeing and are seeing now in some places?
Well, from what I could tell, they're already saying that American corn is on track to produce its lowest yield since 2012. They're saying that hard red winter wheat crop was the smallest since 63, and Texas is having issues with the cotton. They had to walk away from nearly 70% of their cotton. We're seeing situations where the California rice harvest is half of what it would normally be. Nebraska had issues as well. They've had issues with the grain sorghum that they need for the animal feed, and I think that's a huge one. I've also heard about the tomatoes. So those are going to start going up in price because we're having issues with those out of California. And then the other thing is we've got this situation going on with the livestock, obviously. So they're in Texas, they had to call a bunch of those herds, and that stuff is going to, I feel like the beef is going to be a huge thing for us next year. So Texas is down 50%. I heard that New Mexico is down 43%. And then Oregon is down another 41%. So if you guys haven't started putting up beef now, you're making a huge mistake. You really want to get on top of that. If you guys have room for, adding another small freezer, obviously making sure you have some sort of a backup generator or something to power that in a grid down, but definitely doing that, or pressure canning your beef, or if you don't feel comfortable doing the pressure canning, then purchasing some Keystone. But this stuff I think is going to end up getting very pricey if we can even find it next year. I think that's going to be one of the bigger issues.
Yes. So and thank you for bringing all that up, because we're definitely going to see it next year. And if we don't see a shortage, we definitely will see a hike in price. Now, I noticed that they said the price of beef dropped a little bit over the summer because, like you said, they were killing young female cows earlier, and not keeping them around to breed. That was the other thing. So they got rid of those cattle, so they kept it down. They said, but by the end of the year, beginning of next year, we should see a nice little hike in the beef section. Chicken seems to have not come up in any of the articles I looked up. And Brian, thank you for bringing that up. As Prepping by Faith said, that the tomatoes is going to be an issue. If you have a garden, guess what you need to start growing? If you like tomatoes, that is. Start growing tomatoes, right? Start growing a lot of the stuff that they're having issues growing, minus cotton. I mean, unless you got a way to make clothing.
Right.
Yeah, but it's weird how they said that a lot of the farmers, especially the cotton farmers, are walking away from their farms. They're just like, they took such a loss this year. There's nothing they can do with it, and I think that's bad because I know who's going to buy that farm from them.
Right.
Right. The Chinese have been buying up a lot of land here in the United States. I think they've been buying up a lot of land that has large water tables underneath it, or groundwater underneath it as well. Looking to pull water from the ground because they're having an issue right now in China. Like you said, with the drought that they're having, a lot of regions in China are seeing bad shortages of, are seeing a drought that's pretty fucking bad that they haven't seen in one spot in 60 years. So,
which is going to affect rice, right? The production of rice. So,
right, California, they had a lot of rice farmers had to give up their farms because they were like they lost it all, and we're definitely, I mean, like with rice, I mean, I'm putting it away, like I'm buying the bags that we can, and I'm, what's that, vacuum sealing and O2 absorbing the oxygen out, just because this is going to get bad. Now, as far as beef goes, I'm trying to figure out where the hell I can put an extra freezer, because right now, like I told you, the wife isn't happy with the current setup. So if I get a freezer now, she's going to fucking choke me out or throw me to the wasp. But yeah, we I think, like you said, we should definitely be putting more meat away because we're going to see a higher price in meat.
Unless you're okay with the bug protein, which, I don't think most of us are. So,
they're pushing that like it's going out of style. They're trying to get us to eat that stuff. I'm like, listen, there was a time, and actually, when I was in Iceland a couple of days ago, I had snail. Right, it was on the menu. I was like, why not? And here's a trick to it: season the shit out of it; it'll taste good, right? But I always wanted to try different bugs growing up, but now that this is their main focus to have us eat it, I'm like, no, we're going to continue to grow meat, have our meat, and it'll be up to us to what we eat, not up to them. Now, what is your opinion on the whole meat versus bug thing that's going on now?
Well, I think they're definitely trying to push us towards that. They're also trying to push us toward the lab grown stuff, and then obviously the other stuff that they're doing, those alternative meats, whatever the heck those are, with all the different bean sprouts and whatnot in them. I think people really need to be considering why they're doing that. And my concern is if people continue to purchase those things, then it's just going to give them more of an avenue to continue to push this agenda on us. So, even if you're looking at that, what is this beef or whatever it's called, the fake meat, and you're thinking you might want to try it, you're really helping further their agenda when you do that sort of thing. So, boycotting that stuff.
Well, it's funny you brought that up because there's schools right now that are teaching kids not only how to be sexually free, but also eat bugs. So with that being said, they're training kids, if you will, to get away from meat and eat more bug-friendly ingredients. And so there's a whole company that's geared towards selling, what is it called? Flour, but it's like maggot flour or cricket flour. And listen, I get it. I get that's a nice little staple to have in your prep. So don't get me wrong. I think preppers should have that as a backup if they can get it from a company that's not pushing it as the main agenda against meat, right? There are a lot of bug companies that are like, meat is bad, you need to eat bugs. Stay away from those companies. But if you can get that stuff as a backup plan, then so be it. The way we're going right now, I don't know. I we're in a really we're headed towards a really bad direction, and it just seems to be like the train is picking up speed. But like I said earlier, um, it's happening so slow. Now, Angry Homesteader just said it's not healthy. Angry Homesteader, I have to say this. There was an article I read, and it sounded like pure bullshit. They were like, if you want to get rid of burn fat, eat flies. You know how you burn fat? You burn fat because you're not eating enough fucking food and you're eating insects instead. That's how you burn fat. It was the worst list of the health properties of bugs. There's no research behind it, and they were pushing this agenda. Again, being that they're pushing this agenda, what is your outlook on the whole World Economic Forum and the Great Reset?
Oh, that's for certain. That's the track they have us on. I think 100%. The World Economic Forum, along with the WHO, and I feel like a lot of this talk that we've had about climate change is just an avenue for them to, initiate more control. And so everything that we're going to see take place is going to be, oh, that's because of climate change. It's kind of like the health crisis that we recently had, and you no longer can catch the common cold or the flu. It's automatically that disease, no matter what it is, right? So we're definitely going to keep seeing that. And one of the things, if I can, that I wanted to bring up about that is that I reported on something several weeks ago, and I don't know if anybody really saw it, but they're going to be meeting again in December of this year to vote on a response to whether or not this pandemic draft that they have drafted is going to be adopted under their Article 19 or Article 21 of their WHO Constitution. And the only difference being that Article 19 would give them a wider scope to address these binding agreements. And that would entail stuff like climate change. And then Article 21 would be, a few more limitations to that, but not enough, in my opinion. So this is already going to go into effect under one of those two methods. It's already a done deal. It's just we don't know how that it's considered a zero draft at this point. So we don't know exactly what is going to change in that language, but some of that language in there people really need to be aware of. They're calling for this one health, whole of government and whole of society approach in there. They're talking about mitigating response in every form of, from transportation to trade to employment to gender equality, education, culture, and food insecurity and nutrition. And there's literally no area that they wouldn't be involved in should they go ahead and decree another pandemic. And they're also talking about involving state and non-state actors. And then the other thing that I felt like was huge is that they're talking about monitoring and managing public information that could be considered misinformation. And this is really important that we pay attention to this, because this level of censorship that we're seeing now is only going to increase because of all this stuff that's going on in the background that most of us are not aware of and are not paying attention to. So if you guys want to check that out on my channel, I did do that, and I linked in there for you a copy of this actual draft so you can see that verbiage, and it comes directly from the WHO's website. This is not from another alternative news source. They are putting this out.
It's interesting that you brought up a lot of points, but the whole food issue and the curving of our thinking and what to say, the freedom of speech. Again, the whole psychological inoculation, I'm doing a whole live stream on that tonight. I've been doing a lot of research on it the last few days, even while I was in Iceland. And like you said, the whole misinformation and disinformation and propaganda, they're going to fight it with their own, right? So, and we all watched what happened the last couple of years with the whole pandemic that we just went through. And being that they sat there and they told us for 2 years that this thing works, and we guarantee that it works, and it's going to keep you healthy and you're not going to get sick. And now what's happening? People are dropping like flies out of nowhere. People are still getting sick. So the crazy thing is, they actually had people believe that that thing actually worked, and it didn't.
Right.
Right. So now they used that psychological inoculation early,
Mhm.
except for they didn't call it that, and it's known as brainwashing. But I'm going to get a little more into that in the Angry Truth later tonight. Um, but with that, I have to mention something. Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival is having a prepper yard sale October 15th through the 16th. It's a prepper yard sale and a camp out at the Hornets Nets paintball. Again, you can go to Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival's channel to get more information on it. I will not be there that outing. I will be somewhere else with the kids. It's a father's kid trip that weekend. But it should be a very good time, especially with the yard sale. The shit that people sell and the things that you can get without your wife or your husband knowing is priceless. So it's definitely something you guys should look into. Also, guys, the bundle thing that I did before. I got to get the name of this because I'm really terrible at it. But the homestead uh, bundle thing that I did a while back. Sorry, guys. The homestead bundle. That's coming back. So obviously they did great the first time around. This time, guys, they added almost 100 new courses and PDF files. So it goes on sale next week in 10 days. So that's something that you guys should definitely look into. The first time they had this sale, they had a lot of good information in it, especially for those of us who live in the city. There was a ton of good information on how to build your own place, how to build your garden, how to take care of livestock, the whole 9 yards. They added more to it. So I'm definitely going to do another video on it later this week. Prepping by Faith, is there anything you want to push?
Just I wanted to let you guys know that I am starting my own group. I feel like building community is really important. So that is something that I wanted to mention. I started it up. We had our first meeting this last week. It's going to be every other Tuesday. I'm using Google Meet right now. It's just going to be a virtual meeting for a while until we get to know each other. And then my hope is that as this grows, as this community grows, that we'll be able to branch off into smaller groups for our areas, and then we can have more in-person meetings. But it's something that I feel really strongly about. And I think that, if we don't have groups, we really need to start working on that, because community is going to be key going forward with everything that we're seeing. We can't just be on our own. There is strength in numbers. And I think that is going to be critical. So.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. I think moving forward, we're definitely going to see a lot of problems, and we're definitely going to need one another. I think sooner than later. Hudson Valley Prepping is starting a good thing up by him. The group that I run down here in the city, it is what it is. The city folks, either they're going to get on board or they're not. I tell a lot of people, and here's the problem with the city. City folks are a bunch of bitches. They hate. I shoot them straight, man. I'm like, listen, shit or get off the pot. Start coming to these outings. Start, doing these outdoor events. Start connecting with other people. You might not like me, but you'll definitely like somebody in the group. But again, with Hudson Valley doing what he's doing, I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do down here in the city. You got what's going on. I think this thing can grow into something a lot better. And there's another prepper. I forget his name. He has a beard, glasses.
Oh, yes. The Prepared Homestead. Is that right?
And I think that's him.
Travis?
Huh?
Travis?
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
Yeah, Prepared Homestead.
He's starting his own thing down by him. So yeah, it's time that we all start starting our own thing. You don't even have to have a YouTube channel, guys, to start your own group.
No, you don't.
Just fucking start it, because this is going to get ugly. And ugly not in the sense of apocalyptic ugly, but people trying to gain control over our lives ugly. We're going to start seeing more of it very soon, and especially, guys, with this whole psychological inoculation, with the what you can eat, what you can't eat, with the World Economic Forum telling us, how much meat we can have and how much land we can own, it's going to get pretty ugly. Will I think civil war? I don't know. That's on the fence. But we're definitely going to start seeing some shit soon.
Did you see the stuff that's happening in California with the wells? Did you hear about that at all?
No, the
I know.
well's drying up.
No, Survival Living actually reported on this. Another great channel, by the way, guys. But he was talking about how the landowners there, the property that's within unmanaged areas that contain operating groundwater extraction wells, are going to have to start reporting on that volume of that groundwater that's being extracted. And that's going to start taking place, from what I could understand, by February 1st of 2023. And of course, there's going to be fees associated with that. So they're going to require this base filing fee of $300 per well. And then on top of that, they're going to have an additional fee of $10 per acre foot with a meter, if it's metered, and $25 per acre foot without it. And then if they don't hit these monthly filing fees, then they're going to be assessed a 25% per month late fee. So that's something huge, because that's going to, it always starts in one state and then that stuff starts spreading across the United States. So everybody who thinks that they have a well and they're going to be exempt from this stuff, they want their pound of flesh.
Okay, so they are charging extra for a well. Is that what I'm getting?
So what they're going to do is the state is actually wants to start charging people for their well water that they're using.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I see a sneaky deal coming out of that. Right. Something about, well, if you give us some of your water, 2-3% of your water, we'll cut your bill in half by like whatever. That's interesting. That's very interesting, because the whole water talk right now, again, they shut it down with the Mississippi River. They wanted to divert the Mississippi River to the Midwest to meet with the Colorado River, or the lower basin of the Colorado River, to put more water in that area. And I think this came out of California, and I forgot what state. It wasn't Mississippi. It might have been Alabama. No, maybe it was Mississippi. That said, no, we're absolutely not diverting shit. Yes,
from what I understand, that even the Mississippi is lower than it used to be, right? I mean, so they're, that's not something that you want to mess with, because the Mississippi is huge, and it's, a giant conduit throughout our entire United States, as far as all the tributaries that feed off of that and take care of that basin area. From what I understood, like 92% of our food comes out of there that's, shipped overseas. That's really critical. And then you also have to understand that if that gets too low, then we can't get our goods and stuff through, because a lot of our goods move up through the Mississippi River. I think they said like 175 metric tons or something per year. So that's huge. We don't want to be touching that.
Right. And so, I mean, first of all, the simple fact, and like Hudson Valley said, water wars. And I'm doing a video on that, because I see it coming. I mean, I think we all see it coming, right?
We're kind of in it right now, in a mini sense, with the Colorado River, right? Because the U.S., all the states there failed to reach an agreement. So now we've had the federal government have to come out, and now they've declared a tier 2 shortage, and they're reducing Arizona's water supply to that by 21%, Nevada's, I think, by 8%, and then Mexico's by 7%, which, why is Mexico getting part? I'm sorry, but I don't understand why they've got access to the Colorado River. But we're already seeing that, in a sense.
Right. And the problem, well, the whole problem with it is that, all right, so now it's running low. These states are going at it with each other, like you just said. But I read a month ago, California and I want to say Arizona
use the most.
Right. And California and Arizona, well, Arizona was asking, well, why does California get X, Y, and Z? And listen, I'm not a big California fan. I don't like the state of California. Right. But even an idiot will look at it and go, they have more people. They have more people, so they get more water.
And our crops, right? I mean, our food is there. So that's
exactly.
You can't be messing with our food any more than they already have. I mean, it's a big deal.
Right. And so, and when you start hearing, well, why do they get more than us? That is already the beginning of a fight.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So And when you start hearing go, well, we could take some of that Mississippi water. The fuck you will. If I was a government, like the fuck you are. You're not touching it. That's not even. And the fact that they brought that idea up was another dangerous uh, thing, because now he threw that idea out there. Of course, it got shot down. But if the water problem becomes more, it gets worse. Sorry, over the next few months to a couple of years, they're actually going to try to force their hand to get that water to them somehow, right? Whether they truck it in or they actually divert it, which I can't see them doing. Diverting that much water would just decimate the Mississippi River.
Well, one of the things that I don't understand is why, if you think about it, you think about states like Arizona and Nevada and California, and everybody there, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have swimming pools. I mean, I'm not trying to say don't do that, but I mean, if you're in a serious water crisis, wouldn't you limit the swimming pools? And like out here in my state, one of the things they've known since forever is, we've been exploding in growth for years out here, decades, but they always put in that stinking Kentucky bluegrass, and that takes a lot of water. And rather than them foreseeing this issue coming down the pike and just planting a grass that's an alternative that doesn't need so much water, or even going to xeriscape, they wait until we're at crunch time, and now we've got to figure out a solution.
Right. And the crazy thing is, back in 2015 or 14, there was a scientist, a couple of them, that said that they were going to run into this problem. And then 2018 came around and they warned again. And then they didn't listen. Now they're like, shit. Now I know California took heed to those warnings because they tried to do the whole desalination thing. And it didn't work out in their favor, just because it cost them too much money to just make the amount of water that they were looking to make. And I think there is a cheap there. I found this out recently. There are a few ways to desalinate water. It's not just one. And Israel right now is doing it the best way. They're desalinating a lot of water. There are drawbacks, of course, to desalinating water. But if you're about to get into a fucking fist fight, I think you should go down that road first before you get into that fist fight. And it's funny when you talked about Mexico getting water. There's a treaty that they have, a contract, if you will. I forgot the name of it. You might know it, but there's a contract that they have where the states are allowed to divide water based on the population of people they have in each state, or in that area, rather, that actually feeds that people. And it comes down to crops, people, and there was a third one in that treaty that they have, or contract for water. So Mexico, being that the river actually runs past and through them, is why they get some of that water. But
I had heard that the Native American tribes as well, though, but they never seem to get their share of it either that they're supposed to get, right? I mean, so that's another issue.
And it's funny, they brought them up in an article. They talked about them, and it was just, I forgot what, there was a couple of tribes. It wasn't just one. It was a few tribes. And I remember them talking about them, a few tribes, and they were like, they get their water, I think, with no strings attached, if I'm not mistaken. But if they start cutting them out, then there's going to be a problem. But right now, if I'm not mistaken, they get a no strings attached. Again, making up for what happened to them, centuries ago, is why they got the deal, and rightfully so. I'm not saying that they don't deserve it.
Right.
But right now, they're not being touched. But they are, especially the tribes north or far north of the Colorado River, they're seeing the effects first. They're looking at it and going, "Oh shit, this is a problem. What are we going to do?" Still waiting on my 40 acres. Plain prepper is still waiting. Yeah, you're never going to get your 40 acres. Kiss that goodbye. Yeah, but listen, this is seemingly a really bad problem, but I think we're addressing it the wrong way, or they're addressing it on purpose the wrong way to create more of a situation. Again, if we could put a man on the moon, if we could, and again, if you believe we put men on the moon, if Apollo 13 had that situation they had and we got them back home, right? Yes. I think we could figure this fucking problem out, right? We're looking to send people to Mars, but we can't figure this water problem out.
And you would think water would be one of the most critical things because we have to have it for everything, really. It's like, none of us are going to live without it. The animals aren't going to live without it. We're not going to have any food. they know all of this. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
agree. It's intentional.
yeah. It's got to be. Again, they were warned. They were forewarned about the ice caps on the mountains there, coming down to the Colorado River. They're like, there's less of it each year, and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, it'll be okay. And
From
then
what I
like,
understand, that's been happening since the 70s. So they've
yeah,
had plenty of time.
yep.
It isn't a new issue.
And they went into red alert mode in 2015 or
Mm-hmm.
14 or 16. Sorry, they went into red alert mode, and they still didn't want to listen. Now they're like, "Damn it, man, we should have listened." Yeah, fuckface, you should have saw this coming. I mean, it's amazing that a lot of the things we're seeing, especially like a lot of the older people that watch those prepper channels, a lot of them saw this coming decades ago,
Right.
and and they warned everybody, and they're like, "That's the crazy old dude in town. Leave him alone." And now the crazy old dude is right,
Yeah.
right? We have the food shortage. Believe it or not, if you watch the movie Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey, awesome movie by the way. But when you watch that movie, they talked about food shortages and why, and we're seemingly headed in that direction. And this is probably why a lot of scientists are looking to get us off this, not us. They're looking to get people off the rock. They're not looking to get us. I think a lot of us are going to die on this rock, and the privilege.
I'd rather die on this rock. I'm just saying, I don't want to go out there. I was born on this planet. I'll stay here. Thanks.
You know what? A side of me is curious about Mars and
Really?
other planets. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, the human race. I hate to say this because it's a hypocritical statement, but we definitely need to spread out and to explore what else is out there. At the same breath, we fuck everything up, so we don't need to leave.
That's
Right?
true. It's true.
So there's one side of me is like, we need to spread out. We need to see what else is out there, but to what cost? So we can move somewhere else and screw that up. Like it's like a love-hate relationship with the human race. I think we all have that. I think we all have that in us. It's just that because we should be, looking at Mars, or we should be exploring space. We should be looking at other avenues of energy that's laying out there in space somewhere. But instead, we're all here, crammed on this planet, fighting over resources that are running out.
Yeah.
I like this one, this comment. Mars is flat. And I'm battling with this lady online who's like, she is. So when we were talking about disinformation, misinformation earlier, she thinks not only that the planet is flat, but that satellites are fake. And then a couple of her followers are like, well, what about GPS? GPS is not real. I'm like,
well, oh my gosh.
yeah. So, and listen, the problem is she has a small following of people that are, they're like, yes, speak the truth. I'm like, what fucking truth? I'm like, I said the Earth is it's a sphere, and she's like, no, it's not. I'm like, so the million of satellite pictures, those are all made up? She goes, yes. I said, all right, okay, let's play this game. Then show me a picture of flat Earth.
Right.
Then she shows me these graphs and drawn up pictures that like the Vikings and all these other people from early Earth made up. And I'm like, that's not fucking proof. That's a drawing. I could fucking draw you a picture of that. So we
How
go
do
back.
they not fall off the edge?
Yes.
If it's flat.
And I told her, she goes, well, what about there's an area in the North Pole, and it's a wall of ice. And they said that humans are not to go past it. And I've heard of this before. And I go, and of course, me bringing my, stupid conspiracy theory into a stupid conspiracy theory argument, I was like, what if there is something beyond that they just don't want us to see? But it's not that it's flat. It's just there's something over there. And they're like, no, that's stupid. I'm like, so my theory is stupid because it's correct with no proof. So anyway, I have fun with these flat earthers because I'm just like, you guys are idiots, It's whatever. It's always a fun time. But with that being said, food issues that are coming. How do you plan to tackle? I mean, we see what's behind you, right? But how do you plan to tackle it? Or what is your goal as far as food goes? what's the amount of food you're looking to have? Years, obviously not months. So what's the year goal that you're looking to hit?
Well, I've already hit that. So at this point, it's more just becoming more sustainable. So what we're trying to do, I started growing food this year on my balcony. So I've got some grow bags going with some potatoes and I grew some green onions. Those came out all right. Not as many as you would think though, guys. So you're gonna need to plant a lot more food than that. What else I have out there? Mainly like tomatoes, potatoes. I have some bell peppers. They're finally just now starting to develop peppers on them. I'm hoping that they're going to make it in time because it's probably going to start cooling off here about the end of October. So we're in crunch mode with that. But the other thing we're doing is we are building some galvanized raised beds over on the side of the house. So we're going to have 4 of those, and we're going to start planting in those come spring. So we're excited about that. Those are going to be 4 by 8. So
very nice. That's a nice plan to have. Right now, we're looking at I'm buying grow bags this week, and I'm going to make a giant mess in the house. And yeah, but for all of the stuff that I have over here to my right, I got to clear this out before I could put the grow bags there. And then we're gonna try our best with that. Obviously moving is the optimal choice, but because my son got accepted to that stupid school, man, like it's a great school for him, and it's a
does
great
he like
opportunity.
it though? Is he enjoying it?
He starts this week. This will be his first year, and it's, I mean, the opportunities he has with the school is just awesome. And I think to myself, I fucked up my opportunities when I was in aviation high school, right? So like an asshole, I bought a gun to school, and then that was it. They kicked me out. So one side of me wishes that I would have kept that opportunity, but then again, look where I am now, right? This opportunity that he has, kids in the city don't get shit like this. So now we're contending with this. I said, listen, he has one full school year. He fucks it up, we're gone. And she's like, I said, so start looking for, and she's actually looking for another job now. That's going to let her be mobile. So if we do move, we're gone. But he gets one school year. If he fucks it up, he's gone. Ken Stepp, what school? He's at some kind of urban. Oh God, well, it's an urban like STEP program where he gets to work in the marine field, if you will. So whether that's being a scuba diver that fixes things, working on engine boats and things of that nature, it's an awesome opportunity. Wow. And I was a little surprised he got in. And now that he's in, we're hoping that he makes it, because if he doesn't, like I said, we're gone. But with that being said, enough about that bullshit. What is your outcome of what's going on? What do you think is going to be the catalyst to push everything over the edge?
As far as the conversation we had tonight, or just in general?
As far as the conversation we had tonight.
I mean, for me, I guess the biggest thing that I'm concerned about, obviously, are these droughts. If they continue to get worse each year, I think that is going to impact the food supply. And there's no way to, not see some sort of, if we don't see higher food prices, which I know we will inevitably, that's a given, right. We will start seeing a lot more disruptions in our food supply. And I don't know that, our shortages are going to be as significant as some of the other countries. But one of the other things we didn't even touch on, though, was Europe and the fact that they've got that issue going on where that Nord Stream 1 got shut down. I get Nord Stream, right? Nord Stream 1 got shut down, and that is going to impact their fertilizer. So right now they're saying that that's been reduced by 70%. That's going to be huge as far as what they're going to be able to grow next year. So we're seeing all of these layers to this, and I don't see it, necessarily getting any better anytime in the near future. So
yeah, it just, it's weird. People would think that we live in a doom and gloom community,
right,
and we don't. We just pay attention to what's going on.
We read the tea leaves, as Prepper now would say, right?
Yes, very good. Yes, exactly. And it's funny because you would think that, you know, more people would look out the window and go, for example, for those of us that live in New York City, would look out and go, what the fuck is going on and how did we get here? But instead, I go outside to walk the dog and people are just in their own worlds.
Well, I mean, half of them are still wearing their masks, if that tells you anything. So,
Yeah, man. You know what? Coming back into the country, my wife was like, she wasn't yelling at the guy, but she was all but telling the TSA agent to take his mask off. She was like, she goes, it's done already. She said, and I can't hear what you're saying. I was like, oh God, she's gonna get arrested. I was like, it's like I said, and then I'm gonna get involved. We're all going to jail.
right.
But then the guy was just like, well, I just don't want to get COVID. I'm like, oh my God, dude, relax. You're not gonna die. But anyway, so it's the mask wearing people around here in the city it's insane. It really is insane to me. We watched the family in a car the other day. We're driving by, down the highway. I'm fucking flying, and I'm driving up, and I look, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I see an entire family in a car, all wearing a mask.
I don't even know. My husband says that he sees this one guy every day that goes by his work, and he's walking. He's outside by himself. There's nobody else around, and he's got it on. And I'm just like, you're outside. You don't like oxygen? I don't understand.
It's insane. And it's just the way they got control of these people are insane. Is why it's going to lead into the next live stream I do later tonight. Christian Prepper. Yeah, I saw that video. That was fucked up. So Christian Prepper said, well, I'll just put it on the screen so you guys can read it. Did you see the video from NYC today of the car ramming another car and robbery? Yes, that was 2 days ago. And yeah, the guy had, for whatever reason, the old man had 20 grand in his car. These kids saw that, rammed them off the road for 20 grand. Seemingly they got it, and they're not going to catch these kids because those kids were probably in a stolen car. These kids are a little smarter today than, a few years ago. They're robbing people on mopeds that are not theirs and cars that are not theirs. So they're not going to catch these kids because guess what the kids had on? They had on masks, right? So they were being safe and dangerous at the same time. So they're probably going to bring that in court. They were wearing masks, Your Honor. They didn't want the guy to get COVID. And then they're probably going to get off on just that alone because people are getting away with everything here in New York City. You know how bad it is? My wife told me the other day, she goes, yo, you're going to have to get strapped. And I was like, you? She goes, yeah. She goes, you got to carry a gun. She goes, shit's getting out of control. I'm like, I said, so then I go, how about we just ditch New York altogether? And she was dead quiet. She was like, for Maverick School. I'm like, and that's when we had the whole conversation about one semester school. He fucks it up, we're gone. But yeah, listen, house crime by you. I don't even know where you live, by the way.
Yeah, I'm southeast of Denver. So things here, they're not terrible in my particular area where I'm at. I'm, in a larger, I guess you would call it a city, but it's, it's about 400,000 people. So it's not tiny, but it's not extremely large either. There was a situation recently where in a neighborhood nearby, there was a young girl that was 16 and it was broad daylight and she was out for a walk and this guy was stalking her and she could see him approaching her. And so she was trying to avoid him. And then a van pulled up and he grabbed her and thankfully she was able to twist herself free and jump over a fence and run off. But they were planning on snatching her up for, I'm convinced, human trafficking. So that is going on. And that's actually a really nice area. It's a nicer neighborhood. So, this crime in broad daylight, I think, is going to continue to escalate all over, really. So
yeah, the lady that they found, what was her name? The one that went missing, the jogger that went missing, and they arrested the dude, and then they found a body in the ocean there. In the river. Crime everywhere seems to be getting bad. Because people are like, yo, you should move here, you should move there. And I'm like, fucking crime's on the rise everywhere. Though right. I would rather deal with less of it, in certain areas. Yeah. But get a ring. Oh, sorry. Someone says, get the Ring Neighbor app. It will let you know about crime in your specific neighborhood. I didn't know about that. We have Citizen, but Citizen's not doing that great right now. For whatever reason, Citizen's not reporting a lot of the crime, or maybe my app's not working on my phone. I don't know. But he says, get the Ring Neighbor app. All right. Mm-hmm. Something to consider. All right, ma'am. So we are at 10:05 right now. Anything else you'd like to say or promote?
I don't really have anything to promote, but I just wanted to I know we talked a lot about more, like you were saying, doomsy stuff, but I feel like that, many of us are being called to prepare now. So if we choose not to heed that warning, then, we know that that's, our fault, right? Not God's. I feel like there's still hope in Christ. And I believe that he's going to take us through this crisis. And I just wanted to share, if it's okay with you, this one scripture that a friend sent me the other day that I thought was just really good and really going to help encourage people. Is that okay?
Yeah.
But the eyes of the Lord are on those who fear him, on those whose hope is in his unfailing love, to deliver them from death and keep them alive even in famine. And that's in Psalm 33:18 and 19. And I just thought that was so encouraging with everything that we're talking about with the famines and everything approaching. He can still take us through, and we can get through. And he is calling us to prepare now. And a lot of us are paying attention to those signs and doing what we can. So
very true. That is true. So again, ma'am, thank you for coming on tonight. I do appreciate it, as always. Great conversationalist, guys. You sat here. You heard how she thinks. She's smart. She's on it. She's very informed. So listen, guys, head over to Prepping by Faith's channel. Subscribe to her channel. Like and subscribe to her channel. Watch her videos, and you're not going to be disappointed. And again, if you have a religious bone to pick with her, guess what? Don't follow her channel. It's that simple, guys. It's really simple. You don't like a YouTuber, you don't follow, right? There are plenty of fucking people that I fucking stopped following or started following because they switched their tune or there was something they liked about it. It is what it is. You guys fucking will fall out of love with my channel, soon and come back a couple years later. It is what it is. But again, Prepping by Faith, guys, great channel. Go follow her channel and you won't regret it. That's all I'm going to say. Other than that, guys, I do have a live stream with more ladies coming up September 21st, 9 p.m. I will have on Alexandra the Great, Angry Homesteader, TJ Preps, and Vancity Prepper. I don't think Vancity got back to me yet, but whatever. I'll shake that tree and get her out of it. Other than that, guys, that will be, again, the 21st of September, this month at 9 p.m. So, guys, other than that, again, thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you for joining Prepping by Faith. And I will see you guys, or some of you guys, in a couple minutes on the Angry Truth channel, guys. Good night.
Bye, guys.